So I'm sure you've heard the saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And I think we can agree, for the most part. I mean, not for the most part, it's just a true thing because the first impression is the first impression. And there's only one chance to do it. But we live in a world where people will come to certain conclusions about you and you to others just based off what they see, based off their first engagement with you, right? And we may not always be aware of how we come across to others. May not always be aware of the things that others will notice first in us. And specifically as a woman, what a man will notice first in you. All right. And now some of you might say, well, I don't care. I don't give a damn what these men notice first. Okay, I get it. I understand. Okay. But listen, I think if you desire a relationship in any way, and even if right now you may not be in the mindset of I want one at the moment, there's a very good chance you will at some point. And I think it's good for you to be aware of what things are going to play into that first impression. What is noticed initially from a man, and how that can either help or hurt you in the process of dating. But also, these things can have an impact in other aspects of your life. So let's get to it. So, one of the things that men will notice first in a woman is your smile or lack of one. All right. Now, I know some of y'all sucked your teeth and, and rolled your eyes because I know many of you have experienced the whole having a man telling you to smile or why don't you smile? And you're like, what the hell is your problem? What makes you think you can tell me to smile? Like, I get it. It can be annoying for many of you, right? So it may be annoying to have me bring this up. But, I love y'all. And I got to be real with y'all. Smiling matters, okay? There's a study that shows women are found more attractive when they smile. Smiling is inviting. Smiling makes you more approachable. It makes you seem more friendly. All these wonderful things. And therefore, it can create more opportunities for you or have people receive you in a more positive light, right? Now, I know some of you have what some call resting bee face. I'm not going to use the whole word, but most of y'all know what I'm talking about. Resting bee face, right? And I always say on the tour, I always joke around and say, listen, if you're using your resting bee face, or what I like to say, your mean mug, right? Your scowled up, frowned up face, because you don't want to be dealing with these men. You don't want anyone to touch you, approach you, well, touch you too, but you don't want any of that attention, right? Then cool. I get it. I understand. But you can't be doing that and then say to me, why aren't men approaching me? Why aren't I meeting any good men? Why is dating so hard? Because you look difficult. That's why. Like you walking around looking unhappy, you look difficult, or you look like you don't want to be bothered, right? And so why would a man, and more specifically, a man who is seriously interested in a real potential relationship, why would he want to approach you? See, the guys who just want to have fun with you, who just want to sleep with you, they don't care. They don't care how you're walking around, how you're looking, what kind of energy you're giving off, which we'll talk about a little bit later, because all they see is what is physically appealing to them, right? Or what they view as a target for whatever reason, and they want to go after it. All right. And they're not deterred by your lack of a smile. Not to mention, the good, nice guy who's genuine about a relationship sees your lack of a smile, sees maybe you are in a mood or you're giving off a mood that says, I don't want to be bothered. And out of respect, he's not going to approach you. He's like, all right, let me just leave her alone. Whereas the guy who, again, doesn't care because it's all about what he's looking for, will just talk to you anyway, will invade your privacy, will not even consider that you may not be in a place to want to entertain conversation. But the bottom line is, smiling is good. Now, I know many women will say to me, I just don't smile, Stefan. I'm not even trying to look this way. It's just how it is. I'm not even realizing it. I get it. I understand. But I always say, Smiling is easy when you're at peace from within. So if you struggle to smile, what are you stressing about? What haven't you let go? What are you holding on to? What are you overthinking and overanalyzing? Because chances are that's why you don't smile as much naturally. When you are happier, when you are more at peace, it will just come out of you. It will radiate from you, okay? And you won't struggle with this anymore. So to me, don't just be comfortable with the whole, I just don't smile. Go deeper. Why? Why am I not smiling? Why am I not coming across that way? Okay. And again, understand that this is, even though we're talking about the things that men notice first, all these things I'm going to mention are going to be good for you. Because understand when you smile, like I'll give an example real quick for myself. Because even me as a man, though there are studies that say men are found more attractive when we're not smiling like that. But I can say like there's times where I'll come out the gym and people have seen me in the street and say, you look mean. And they were afraid to approach me. And I'm like, yo, I'm super friendly. I'll give anyone my time if they come to me in the street. But I get it. I'm walking out, I'm tense from the workout, and I haven't relaxed myself. I haven't relaxed my muscles, my mind, and now that gives off a certain aura. And so when you're not smiling, again, or when you do smile, it's not just about how people receive you, but it's also about how you're feeling, how it allows you to relax. It brings you peace by putting a smile on your face. And maybe it's looking at things that will help you smile. Like I'm a big believer in, I don't watch stressful drama and nonsense on TV. When I do watch TV, which is very rare, it's comedy. It's only thing that's gonna make me laugh and smile. And I always notice because you give off certain, I believe, hormones. I might be saying it wrong, but there's some kind of chemical reaction from smiling and laughing that just makes you feel good. So it's gonna be good for you, but it definitely plays into one of the things that men will notice first about you. All right, so another thing that men will notice first on you or about you is how you are dressed. Now, this can be a sensitive topic because people see this differently depending on who they are. And I'm not here to tell you how you should be dressing, okay? If anything, the way you should be dressing is what makes you happy, what makes you comfortable, what's gonna allow you to feel good. That's what I really want for you, right? But let's be real. People are going to maybe draw certain conclusions or perceive you a certain kind of way based on how you're dressed. And I think it's good to just be aware and understand that. And I don't think we need to be mad if people want to jump to certain conclusions because of how we're dressed. And this is why it can become a sensitive topic because let's be real, there are some men out there who can be very judgmental, right? And if you're wearing, and not just men, other women, but if you're wearing provocative clothing, right, some people are going to jump to certain conclusions, okay? They're going to perceive you a certain kind of way, and that might dictate, if they do approach you, how they will approach you, okay? On the other hand, dressing maybe super conservative can then give off the perception of, well, that you're this very conservative woman and that might not work for some other guys. And that's why I don't want you focused so much on how they will perceive it. I want you first to focus on what you feel good in and understand that everyone's not going to agree with it. Because I'm going to tell you on the flip side, like, and I'm just being honest here, and some of y'all may judge me for it, but I don't mind the provocative clothes. And I'm not saying that like I'm just trying to get every woman to walk around half naked. What I'm saying is like, even in my own, if I'm in a relationship, I'm not one of those guys that's like, my woman has to dress super conservative because you're with me now. That's just not how I am. I don't know why, but I'm just not like that. I don't mind. I don't mind a little sexiness. You know what I'm saying? A little extra sexy. Now, of course, there's a line. Don't get me wrong. There is a line. But my line might be a little more further out than some other people, okay? And so I think it's important for you as a woman is like, and of course, in life, we're gonna have different places that we're dressed different ways, right? And that's why, again, it's all about just doing what feels good to you, doing what you like, because you want a guy who's again, accepting of that, whatever it is. Whether it's okay, he accepts your conservative dressing ways, or he accepts your sexy dressing ways, whatever it is, he's good and you guys are on the same page about it. But understand that, again, when we're in certain environments, how we're dressed is going to be is going to contribute to how people view us, how people approach us, all these different things. So I don't want you to dwell on it too much, but it is something I had to mention because it is, in fact, one of those things that men will notice first about you. All right. So here's another thing men will notice first about you, or first on the woman, and that is your energy or your spirit that you're giving off. Now, we talked about this in the beginning of this video, but there's a quote that says, your energy introduces you before you even speak. And I think a lot of people underestimate how impactful their energy, their spirit is in how people receive or perceive you, and how that affects a lot of scenarios and situations for individuals. Because just to help give it more context and give more understanding to it, think about, even in a moment where, have you ever spoke to someone and they're speaking to you very calm, they're being very proper, but you can still feel the stankness coming off their body. You can still feel this attitude, this passive aggressiveness. So you still want to reach over and knock them out one good time, because even though their words are not saying anything bad, their energy or their spirit is attacking you. All right. And it can cause you to get defensive. Well, the reality is that many times you may have done the same thing, where you think, I'm being cool, I'm being calm, but in reality, your energy, your spirit is saying something completely different. Okay. And this is in my spirit, I gotta say it. This is what creates also a huge disconnect for some women in regards to the reality of being feminine versus being perceived as feminine. All right. What I mean by that is this. I'll have a lot of women say to me, Stefan, I am feminine in a relationship. I'm very this, I'm very that. I do all these things. I'm sweet, I'm loving. Great, right? But can't seem to meet masculine men, only seem to meet men who are trying to leech off them, who good for nothing, doesn't honor them in that way, doesn't make them feel comfortable resting in their feminine energy, so to speak, right? And what I have to explain to them is, yes, you may be feminine at your core, and you know how to be feminine in a relationship, but your energy and spirit does not give off femininity. And because of that, the masculine man, the man who could honor that side of you, who can pour into that, won't even approach you. So essentially, if I'm passing by you in the street, or if I'm working with you at the office, or whatever the case may be, and you come off very hardened, masculine, negative, whatever, I'm not going to know you have this feminine side of you that you know how to tap into. You see what I'm saying? And not only will I not know, because some of you might say, well, if they would get to know me, well, here's what I always say to women. That's like a man saying, that's like a man walking around looking broke, looking homeless, and saying, well, if women just got to know me, they would know I have some money. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You have to present yourself as such if you expect them to understand that you possess such a quality, right? Because nobody got time to be sitting and trying to discover every person, because no one's guaranteed what they're going to find if they try to push through that. So if you're giving off masculine, or if you're giving off negative or whatever, well, most people are just going to assume that's just who you are. And the reality is that you do the same with other people. Because we don't have time to sit down with every individual that catches our eye if what they're giving us in energy and spirit is not what we like. Plain and simple. So it's important to get that into alignment of, okay, if this is who you are, how do we start to exude that? How do we start to tap into that in everyday life so people can see that in you, see that you possess that quality? And lo and behold, smiling is one of those ways. Like, just the smiling helps. That smiling will help you exude more of that feminine energy. But also, it's not just being feminine, it's being positive. And I personally believe, like, feminine energy and positive energy, they kind of go together. Like, I'll say this: typically, a woman who comes across very positive and loving is not going to come across anything but feminine. She's not going to be viewed in an opposite way. So to me, positivity, even if you say, I don't know how to be feminine, right? And I got other videos on the feminine stuff and I got more stuff coming, but you should know how to be positive, right? I think you can at least start from there, because that will still help you exude the right type of energy and spirit that you need. And again, I have to remind you, this isn't just about how men will receive or perceive you. This is going to benefit you in all ways. Quick example, I had a client many years ago who was like the head doctor of the hospital, or the manager. She basically ran this place. And when she came to me, she was discouraged with men, ready to give up. There's a lot more to the story, but the bottom line is she carried a lot of masculine energy, okay? And the people that worked did not like her. And we worked on that. We did some healing. We got her to tap into her feminine energy, her positive energy. And literally, she went from people not liking her at work to people always being willing to help her, being more accommodating, being more pleasant and friendly. Like, it completely changed her work environment for her. Then it also turned into her meeting a man. And now I can say proudly, she is married to a man that she met in that process. Okay. It works. It works. It has an amazing impact. But again, it's not just about the man. It's about you, your quality of life, and how much better you will feel when you start to tap into and exude that more positive, loving, feminine energy more consistently in your life. All right, so before I get to the next one, real quick, I want you to join my text club today. It's a special little membership group I have. It's only $5 a month, and it's going to give you inspirational messages and videos from me and bonus content, and you're really going to enjoy it and find it beneficial. It's going to help pour into you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And part of the proceeds are going to go to my Healing Generations Foundation, my nonprofit organization that aims to provide low cost and free therapy, coaching, and many other services to all. I'm striving to make a lot of great big moves with this foundation. So definitely, by joining the text club, you'll be helping the nonprofit. So go click the link below in the description or in the comment section and make sure you join today. So now, moving on to another thing that men notice first in a woman, and take a deep breath. I don't want some of y'all to get sensitive, but the next thing is a woman's body, okay? Now listen, I'm not saying that's what they should be focused on, but that's what it is. Like, men are going to look at a woman's body, and men are going to, it's going to impact their selection process of who they entertain. Now, for you as a woman, what I first want to say, and I've been saying it with the other points, it always starts with, what are you happy with? Because the reality is that different men like different things. I do think, if we're being real, there's going to be certain things that's more universally liked than others, right? Being fit is typically more universally liked, but different men like different things. That's just the reality of it. And so rather than trying to get you to fit a certain mold, right? I always want to encourage you to, one, it's about, do you like what you see in the mirror? How good are you feeling about yourself? And then two, making sure you're putting yourself in a healthy place, all right? Whatever that is. Because going in any different direction, whether that's thicker, skinnier, whatever, whether that's surgeries, whatever, like, anything that's for certain people can cause a problem. Too much of anything can be a problem, right? So you want to be careful and make sure you are staying in a healthy place, and what I like to call finding your happy place. That place of, I feel good with how I look. I feel good with how I feel. And I like the results I get from it. Okay? Because if you're like, well, I'm comfortable this way, but you're not getting no results this way, then it's like, is that really your happy place? Are you really good there? Probably not. Probably not, for being honest. So it's like, all right, maybe we might make a little tweak here and there to kind of help bring forth better results. But again, you don't have to go to any extreme. It's just finding that place that works for you. But I will say, I feel the need to say this again. And I know some of y'all are like, well, we don't care. But a woman's body can be, for some men, even more impactful than how she looks in the face. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. Again, I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just explaining this to y'all, that this is what the reality is for some men. And I do think that it's one of the things that we have, like, we can't really control how we were born and what we look like with facial features and stuff like that, outside of the surgeries of today. But the one thing we have a little more power over, a lot more power over, is the physicality and how we look in our body. And I think that we should make sure we're pouring into ourselves in that healthy, positive way. All right. So I always want to encourage that healthy living. I always want to encourage you to strive for what's best for you, right? But understand that, yes, it does play a role. It is something that men notice very quickly and evaluate, so to speak. And though we all know that through time things will change naturally with everybody, it doesn't mean it's going to be ignored initially. That's just the reality of it. So it's like, okay, yeah, it might change 10 years from now, but still want it to be in the vicinity of what we like currently, you know? And I think that's a case can be made as for most people, if not pretty much all people. So just another one of those things I had to put on the list because it's what is the reality of men. All right, so a few more that we got on this list of things that men notice first in a woman. And one of those things, believe it or not, is your skin. All right. And I will say, I haven't done enough research to say, like, I'm confident that this is what most men notice or are really paying attention to. I don't know I can't say with certainty how much the quality of a woman's skin is really going to impact a man's attraction to her and things of that nature, but it can. It definitely can. And it's definitely something that is a representation of self. Now, I think that one of the other big reasons why I wanted to add skin to this list, because I do, if you've been watching my other videos, I'm very much into healthy living. And I think a lot of people don't realize how what you put in your body is affecting your skin more than anything. Like, everyone's always asking for what's the person with good skin, what's their skin routine, right? And that's cool. I'm not saying don't do your skin routine and all that kind of stuff. Make it happen. But make sure you're taking care of yourself internally too. And the type of foods that we eat and the things that we're drinking, all these different things, can be it's basically you fighting with one hand tied behind your back, because you are topically, the things you're putting on the surface are helpful, but the real battle is from within. And curing some of those things, removing some of the inflammation that's being caused by foods that don't agree with your body, can go a long way to improving your skin. And improving your skin can have an impact on your overall health, because it's kind of all connected together. So now, one thing I want to throw out there, I'm not a doctor, but it's something that I believe in and I am passionate about, is eating for your blood type. Okay? Just research it. Just look into it. The basic premise of it is, based off your blood type, there are certain foods that agree with your body and do not agree with your body. And those things, when you eat the things that don't agree with it, can cause a lot of problems. And sometimes it's foods that you think are healthy, and in general they are, but they're not healthy for you. So, quick example, if I eat banana, it will mess me up, okay? Banana does not sit well with me. I get bloated. It causes problems. It's causing inflammation. If I eat too much tomato, I can literally start having back problems, inflammation in my lower back because I ate too much tomato. Like, and these are, again, generally accepted as healthy foods. So you may not realize what is causing a problem. And I believe that, yes, there is truth, or at least some level of truth, to the blood type eating. So look into it, because those things can help you with your skin. Of course, staying hydrated is going to be very important. All right, that's going to be helpful for your skin. But here's another thing that's very important that I have to talk to you about: stress. All right. A lot of y'all are carrying way too much stress. And I'm going to hone in on emotional stress. You ever come across someone, it could be a very young individual, and they look like they done lived 10 times over already. Like their face looks rough. They look like they've been through it, right? And what happens to a lot of individuals, young or older, is that when you start to go through things, and we naturally all have been through something, but you're suppressing it, right? You're not releasing these things. You start to create emotional stress in the body. And that's essentially like trapped energy in your body that needs to get out. And what happens is that stress starts to take a toll on you, and it starts to age you, and it starts to activate diseases and ailments and issues and pains and all these different things. And if we would just learn to release, because you don't heal by suppressing, you heal by releasing, you will start to feel better, look better, right? And experience better for it. And so it's important to understand we have to manage our stress as best as possible. So we got to manage that emotional stress, heal, release things. We got to manage that environmental stress. What are the things around you that's causing a problem? I always say, like, when you go home, look at your home and say, does this home pour positivity into me or negativity? I don't want to get too deep into this, but I'm just going to say real quick story. Once upon a time, I was staying at a place where the room I stayed in was depressing, okay? And I didn't realize, like, I was depressed while I was there, not realizing I'm in this very depressing room. It was very gray, it was very gloomy, there was no windows. Like, that was a problem. And simply changing my environment helped. And for some people, it might be adding a plant in your house can make a difference. It could be finding ways to bring in more sunlight. It could be adding a painting or picture, color, candle, whatever. There's so many little different tweaks you can make that can create a more peaceful, positive environment at the home that now reduces and removes more of a stressful environment from you. And that will help you with not aging so fast and help your skin look more vibrant. But again, I'm not a doctor. Do your research, look into it. But yes, skin is one of those things that some men are going to notice in you first. All right, so these next two I'm going to kind of combine, because the first one is just quick and simple. But then the next one after that is a little more, some of y'all might be sensitive to it. But anyways, the next thing that men notice in a woman first is her eyes, right? And to me, I don't know, I don't want to say there's nothing you can do about it, because I'm sure how a woman does her makeup could affect her eyes and how they look and things like that. But in general, your eyes are your eyes. It's not nothing for you to be stressing about. To me, it's just something that they do notice. And I do think in the way that you can control it is understanding that your eyes are powerful in the sense of what it can communicate to a man, how it can make a man feel, the way that you look at him, the way that you make eye contact with him. Those things are very powerful in expressing interest or drawing someone into you, seducing. I'm not saying you need to be out there seducing anyone while you're dating, but I'm just saying it can do it. All right. And so I think making sure you're tapping into those abilities and understanding those powers is a good thing. Because we talked about in a previous video about how to flirt with a man, how making eye contact and holding that eye contact is a very great way to express that you have interest. Because a lot of women, they look, they glance, they move away. And it's like, he's not really sure what that means. But when you look and you hold that look for like 3 seconds, well, that's a lot more powerful. So that's just something to be aware of and to consider. And it is something that many men will notice first in you. Now, the one that women may be more sensitive to is a woman's hair. All right. Now, I ain't crazy, so I ain't gonna sit here and tell you how to wear your hair, all right? Because I don't need y'all trying to come at me or attack me going at your hair. And the reality is different people like different things. Now I'm gonna tell you, me personally, I'm horrible when it comes to even recognizing fake hair, real hair, wig, weave. I don't know. To me, if it looks good on you, I'm happy. You feel good in it, I'm happy. That's all I care about. So I'm not one of those guys that, I just want you to feel good and look good. That's it. But of course, there are other men out there who have their preferences. Some may prefer natural, some may want a long, even if it's a weave, some may want this, some may care about the color, all this different stuff. So it does play into it. Now, I will say this, and I say this respectfully and with love. I do think, so let me say this. I've seen some women go with a certain kind of hairstyle. And my problem isn't the hairstyle. My problem is how it looks on you, right? Or how maybe you don't actually put any effort in making it look good with this style. And to me, again, I personally just want to see a woman who feels good in how she's wearing her hair and is looking good in it and all this type of stuff. But I do think that, like, that's something just to be mindful of. And I say that even to men, like, when I see men who struggle to get attention or get dates, and for some of them, it's like, if you just got a better haircut, it would be a game changer. And I think for some women, it's like just finding that style that really works for you, that really maybe brings out your beauty even more. Like, that can be a game changer. Like, have y'all ever seen those shows where women go and they get a whole makeover and they come in looking one way, and when they come out, it's damn near a whole new person, right? And you're like, this is amazing. And sometimes it's just the changing of their hairstyle, it just had such a profound effect, right? And so I think, yeah, it's something to be aware of. But again, not something to stress over. But if you can, put some effort into it. Be mindful of it. But again, most importantly, do it so that you can feel good. Because when you get up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror and you like how you look, man, that has a real positive effect on the rest of your day. And that's what I want you guys to experience. But definitely it is one of those things that men will notice in a woman. So, one of the big problems in today's world is that men and women are so disconnected, right? And when I'm talking about disconnected, there's a lot of layers to that. But I'm speaking specifically as far as even like engaging and talking to each other, starting off the process of dating and expressing interest and all these things. Back in the days, it was a lot more common for men and women to somehow flirt with each other, get each other's attention, things of that nature. But I feel like in today's world, we become really detached. And so a lot of men struggle with approaching women, and a lot of women struggle with dropping hints or expressing interest, or more specifically, what I like to say is presenting interest. All right. Now, let me just make it clear, because some of y'all will say, well, nah, we're dropping hints. Y'all are some of the worst hint droppers of all time. All right. Like, women swear they're dropping hints, and it's not what you think it is. And men are not picking up on it. But there's also reasons, because a lot of men now, even when you are potentially dropping a good hint, they're overly cautious. They don't want to be viewed as, psycho, annoying, misinterpret what you said. And therefore, it leads to a lot of missed opportunities. So with all that said, I want to help you learn how to grab a man's attention. Instantly grab his attention. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, listen, it's not our job. The men should be pursuing us. They should be chasing after us. Now, if you watch my previous videos, I do not believe in chasing. I don't believe men should be chasing women, and I don't believe women should be chasing men. I believe that both sides should be making a mutual effort in order to build a relationship. And when it comes to even just getting the ball rolling, there's nothing wrong with a woman presenting her interest to a man. Back in the days, they talked about how, the handkerchief, how women would drop a handkerchief to get a man's attention. There was always signals being thrown, and somehow it's now become this thing where you shouldn't have to do anything at all, but that's just not true. I wish I had it with me, but I remember there was a study that said women who now either approach or initiate, because again, I want you to understand the difference between you like pursuing or chasing versus you're presenting your interest. But women who approach were having much more success with dating because they're not just waiting to see who might come their way, they're creating the opportunities for themselves. But there's a lot we could talk about here, but let's get into some of the ways to instantly grab a man's attention. And one of the things you can do is make eye contact, but hold it for at least 3 seconds. So here's the thing. I think we all know about making eye contact. That is a common thing. Most people do it to some extent. But it's important to understand that you have to hold the eye contact because a lot of y'all do that quick look and then look away. And he don't know if you're just glancing in his direction, if you weren't even looking at him. He doesn't know what it means when you do it so quickly. And again, men, for various reasons, are hesitant. So they need something more certain, more of a stronger green flag that says, yes, I'm interested, come my way. So by holding it for 3 seconds, you allow him to see that you are clearly looking at him, and chances are, hopefully, you find him attractive, because even that can sometimes be misinterpreted, but it will help a lot. Now, a quick story. I remember one time, many, many years ago, I got asked to speak at this event, and the event was being held at a lounge, right? So it was like this panel discussion. I think it was during Valentine's Day or Valentine's Week. Well, anyways, I'm speaking at this event. It's break time. I go to the bathroom, and when I come out the bathroom, the bartender, who was a woman, looks at me, and she holds that look, all right? And it was such a strong look, instead, like there was no way. I mean, I did find her attractive. So, of course, just looking at a man doesn't automatically make him interested in you. It will catch his attention, right? And that's at least step one, so to speak, but it doesn't guarantee he's interested. But in this case, it did catch my interest. We did talk. It eventually didn't turn to anything, but we did exchange numbers. But that happened because she gave that look that gave me the clear signal that she's interested. Let me also say this for some of you who just feel like, again, why do we have to make it so obvious? There's been plenty of experiences from men where women did look at them. They approached a woman and she's like, nah, I wasn't interested. Or like she, shoot them off or whatever the case may be, dismissed them. So again, men are cautious and they need something that's a stronger signal. So consider it. I think it's a great thing to do, but of course we got other things on this list to discuss. All right, so let's keep this going. Another thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention is to cross his path and smile at him. So the looking and holding for 3 seconds is great, right? But again, when you're doing it from a distance, or maybe because most of the time no one's counting in their head 1, 2, 3, right? So maybe you didn't hold it for as long as you thought and it wasn't as obvious and as strong as you thought. And so by you now creating a situation where you're crossing his path, you're coming into his vicinity, you not only, one, make it more obvious, right, that you have some kind of interest, you also make it easier for him to engage with you. Because if you're across the room, depending on the setting, depending on the situation, it may not be as easy. He has more things that can cause him to overthink and fear if I should get up. But when you're coming within his presence, so to speak, then it just makes it so much easier. Now, of course, again, I don't want you to just cross his path, Because some of you will walk right in front of him, not look his way, not show him any kind of energy. And listen, I can tell you as a man who has experienced this type of thing so much, there's been so many situations in my life where I've crossed paths with women, and I would swear they have no interest. They showed me nothing, no look, nothing, only to find out later they were like all into me, so interested, wished I would have said something, but it's like you gave me nothing to work with. So understand that again, you want to make sure you make these signals as clear as possible. And we're going to talk about the clearest way later, but you really want to be mindful of that. So creating opportunity to cross his path, smile at him. Now, if you combine number one and number two, where you cross his path, you smile, and you look at him for 3 seconds, right? You are working something really good here. You're making it really hard for him to ignore the fact that there is some interest here. So it's another thing to consider. I will throw this in because some of you may be very shy, and putting yourself within his vicinity, crossing his path may be difficult for you. I'm not going to say that you can't send a friend. I'm just going to say that the friend can't, if the friend's going to be sent, it's going to have to be a more direct approach. All right. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's continue to the next one. All right. So now another effective thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention is going to be 1 + 2. So holding that look for 3 seconds, getting in his vicinity, right? Crossing his path while smiling at him. But you're going to do it while separating yourself from any friends that you're with. So here's the thing. A lot of you sometimes may be out with friends when you see a man that you're interested in. And many of you sometimes, again, maybe because you're shy, maybe you want your friend next to you for moral support, you might try some things with your friend still being present. Or some of you may not want to do 1 or 2, right? But you're sitting at your table or you're wherever you are with your friend. Maybe you're looking from a distance and you're hoping to get his attention. The problem is men are going to be more hesitant when you have people around you, all right? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to get rejected in front of an audience, all right? So he's not 100% certain whether you have interest or not, because again, men have had signals thrown at them only to find out there wasn't any interest there. So he's always looking for reassurance, most guys. Some guys don't care, don't need it. They see what they like, they're going after it, but not everyone's wired like that. So, but back to the point, when you are too much with your friends, you make it hard. So I always encourage women, like, even if it's not crossing his path, let's say you're at a lounge, let's say you're at a restaurant, whatever, and you see a guy. Let's say the guy's sitting at the bar. I would tell you, all right, at some point, leave your friend, whether it's walk to the bar yourself to get something from the bar, whether it's go to the bathroom. I know a lot of women tend to go to the bathroom with their friends, but if you're in a situation where you want to make it easier for this man to talk to you, separating from other individuals helps a lot, all right? Not to mention that when you are with your friends or family or whoever, a lot of people have experienced where that friend or family ran interference, where they hated on the situation, so to speak, and made it difficult. So again, it causes many guys to then be hesitant. So whatever you can do to create a situation where you're by yourself, which is why, and I'm not telling you that you need to do this, I'm just making a point. A lot of times, one of the most effective ways to meet men is to go out alone, all right? A lot of women, when they go out alone, now I will admit, some men may view that as, oh, she's looking for action tonight. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying they should, and that's fair. I'm just telling you some guys will have that perception. However, I do think that you make it so much easier when you're by yourself. But I understand that going out by yourself can be difficult for a lot of women, safety reasons, just being comfortable in certain environments, so on and so forth. So I'm not telling you to do that. But once you get there, you do have to create some moments where you are by yourself, which will make it easier for that man to talk to you. All right. So now, another way to instantly grab a man's attention won't make you look desperate. None of these things make you look desperate. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But another thing you can do is ask him for his help. So, what do I mean by that? You're in the grocery store, you need to reach something. Even if you don't need help, okay? Just asking for it is going to create an opportunity to talk to each other. And again, it catches his attention. And once you have a man's attention, if he's attracted to you, then there's a very good chance he will proceed with trying to make something happen. Now, let me throw this in there real quick before we continue. Sometimes you capture a man's attention, he is interested, but he can't act on it because he might be in a relationship. He might have a situation where he's not trying to make things messy. So don't always assume that just because someone doesn't act on it, it doesn't mean they weren't interested. It's just that, yeah, they're not available, okay? And it happens a lot more than y'all might think. But going back to asking him for help, grocery store. I always talk about going to Home Depot as a great way to meet men. I talk about it on some of my tour events. And so if you're in Home Depot, it's a great place to like ask for help for different things. If you're in the street, directions. And listen, be smart. Just make something up. It doesn't have to be a real situation where you need help. But the beautiful thing is, again, it allows you to get closer to him, create conversation, and then once you're in that close, you can add some of the other things that we talked about, the eye contact, the smiling. Again, all these things I'm mentioning, when you start, you can do one, you can do the other, but when you combine them, you are having a powerful approach in getting what you want as far as getting this man's attention. Let me also say this, because I know there's some of you who, you guys aren't used to asking for help. Not only are you not used to asking for help, some of you have become so consumed by your independence. And I don't mean that in a bad or shady way. I'm just, speaking to the reality of it, that you've gotten into the habit where not only do you not ask for help, you deny people's requests to try to help you. All right? Whether it's family, friends, men, so on and so forth. It's always, I got it. No, I'm good. And that's a problem. I talk a lot about walking into your feminine energy, tapping into that, because I do believe, it's not even I believe, I know that for the majority of you, if not all of you, it's going to be a powerful tool that will not only create better results in dating and relationships for you, but it will create a better overall quality of life. It's for you first. But one of the things that allows you to tap more into your feminine energy is learning how to receive. All right, opening up yourself to receiving, meaning when someone offers assistance, allow them to. And yes, not being afraid to ask for assistance. It doesn't mean you're weak, it doesn't mean you're helpless, but it's just, listen, everyone needs help sometimes or could use some help. It may not be that you need it, but it'd be nice. It'd be good. It'll take a little bit of burden off your back. So I think it's something to practice doing in general, so that when you're in these situations and you come across a man in the street or wherever that you want to talk to, it's an easier thing for you to do now to come up with something to ask him for help with. I also think this is not a big point to make, but I feel the need to throw it in there. You know how people always talk about how like men like to feel needed and useful. So I think that asking for help kind of pours into that, pours into him being able to kind of walk in his masculinity in that moment by being a man that he can provide something, even though it's a little momentary thing, it does have a nice effect. It does have a nice impact. So asking for help, definitely, but again, you got to practice in your general life as well and be willing to receive. All right, so I got a few more for you on effective ways to instantly grab a man's attention and not look desperate while doing it. And that is to give him a compliment, but to compliment him on something concerning his appearance, okay? So compliments go a long way. Who doesn't like to receive a compliment? Most people like to receive a compliment. Some people aren't comfortable with compliments. That's another discussion. But they are really effective tools to, one, kind of pour positivity into someone, but also express interest. The problem is, if you compliment on something that isn't physical, he doesn't really know if you have an attraction to him versus you're just being nice and highlighting something nice about him. So it's like, okay, if you met him somewhere, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but either way, if your compliment has something to do with anything that doesn't deal with how he looks, it's like, okay, he might still pick up on maybe she's interested, but it's less certain. Okay. So I know there's a concern by some women that by complimenting on his looks, he might think, oh, okay, you're easy to have sex with. And here's the thing you got to understand. With all these approaches that I'm giving you, all these, things you can do, there will always be situations where a man can misinterpret. And people who want to misinterpret will find ways to misinterpret, okay? They want to find a reason to believe, yeah, she just wants to have sex with me. However, don't let that stop you from these effective things that you can do, because then you won't do it with the right guy. Just understand that if he misinterprets it, correct him when that happens. If he takes it the wrong way, let him know it ain't that type of party. But the minute you stop even doing those things because you're projecting this fear of how he might take it, now you make it harder for you to connect and grab the attention of a guy who would respect what you're saying, who would value it, and who would view it as a genuine opportunity to get to know you better. All right. But going back to the compliment, and of course, we don't be sexual, like don't compliment his package, if you know what I mean, right? Like that would be clearly sending a sexual signal. But, nice smile, how he's dressed, his haircut, things of that nature, that is a much more effective way to compliment when you're trying to throw the signal of, I'm interested and I'm trying to get your attention. All right, so here's another great way to grab a man's interest, grab a man's attention instantly, and that is rub your booty up on him. Now I'm playing. That's not one to do. It would work. It would work, but don't do that. All right. No, the real answer is be sweet, positive, and exude feminine energy. All right. So we kind of touched on feminine energy earlier and the need to learn how to receive, but of course, a lot of feminine energy, when we're trying to exude it, when you're exuding it as a woman, is walking in that sweet, positive energy. All right, that calming, peaceful energy. That that will grab his attention. That may not necessarily send the signal of, oh, she's interested in me, right? Some might take it that way, some won't, but it will grab their attention, and it will enhance the opportunity, or it will enhance the chances of him being interested in you, essentially. Because basically, the vast majority of men desire feminine energy in a woman. The same way the vast majority of women desire masculine energy in a man. And so we are naturally drawn to it and we're naturally intrigued by it. And it definitely makes us want to engage with this person more. All right. So learning how to be that woman. And a lot of that for many of you starts with learning how to create peace within you. You'll hear on the internet a lot, be a man's peace. I've even talked about that. I have a video that breaks down how to be a man's peace. But it always will start with you creating peace for yourself, right? And a lot of that stems from, or a lot of that includes healing from your past, learning not to internalize so much, learning how to de-stress, making sure you're creating opportunities and time for you to rest and recharge. All right. Some of you are running yourself into the ground. You is constantly consumed by work and doing things, maybe your kids, family, whoever, but no time for yourself. And then what happens is you're not able to walk in that positive energy. You're tired, you're worn down, you're annoyed, you're frustrated. All of that will now project a more negative energy, or can start to project a more masculine energy. Not that being frustrated and things of that nature is a masculine energy thing. It's just that that kind of energy, it presents you in that way. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It comes across in that way, even though it is not inherently masculine to be frustrated or tired. Okay, so learning how to create that environment for yourself. And a quick tip I'm gonna say is, for a lot of you, it also starts with your own home. Like for those of you who can, who live on your own, right? Look around your house and ask yourself, does the house give me the energy I need to have a more positive, joyful, peaceful day, right? And for some of you, that might mean adding some colors into the household. That might mean throwing some plants in there, redecorating in a way that it feeds you that energy. So now that when you walk out of your house and you're out there in the real world, you're going to be now exuding that positive energy that you've been feeding yourself while you were at home. So there's a lot we can talk about with that, but the bottom line is being that sweet, positive, feminine woman will, in many cases, grab a man's attention. I know for me, it's happened many times where even if the man is not interested, again, it captures his attention because believe it or not, that's not the typical experience of a man. Meaning, typically, men, when they come across a woman, they're not getting all that feminine energy from her, right? And I know some of you might say, well, if the man is masculine, it'll pull the femininity out of her. That's true to a certain extent, and that's more so after you're engaging with him. But for him to even approach you and want to talk to you, you have to be exuding it already. And if you're not, that's gonna repel a lot of men. That's just the honest to God truth. Unless they're just looking for sex, which is different. Guys who just want to have fun with you pretty much don't care what kind of energy that you're giving off. They just want what they want. So be mindful of that. But again, that feminine energy is going to be beneficial for both you and the ability to grab that man's attention. All right. So I got a specific message I need you to hear after this, but this is kind of the last one on the list, and then we'll get to that message. The last thing you can do, or the other thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention is simply look good, feel good, and be confident. Okay? Confidence, and let me be clear, not arrogance. All right. Some of y'all might be a little arrogant, a little cocky. Okay. We're not talking about arrogance and cockiness. Confidence. All right. And anyone who exudes confidence tends to make themselves look better. It's a good thing for people to walk in, right? And we can talk about the mindset of confidence because I do believe a lot of it is how you view yourself, what you're feeding your mind, and then how you project it onto the world. However, part of being able to be confident, like you can only fake it so much, okay? You got to get to a place of really building that within yourself. So that means being honest with yourself about what makes you feel good, meaning the clothes you wear. Because let's face it, there are certain outfits you might put on and you feel good. Like you're like, dang, I look good in this outfit. Other outfits don't have that effect on you. So you want to be mindful of that. And you want to start to cultivate a style that feeds that more consistently into you where you feel good about yourself. Whatever you got to do to feel better and more confident, implement those things. Taking care of your health is going to help you with being more confident. So you want to be mindful of that as well. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, what we eat, exercise, and things of that nature, well, again, it's not only how it plays out as far as physical presentation, it's how it plays out internally and the effects it has on us. Being more fatigued, being more agitated, struggling with anxiety, depression, all these things can be diet related. So you want to look into optimizing those areas because the more you optimize, the better you'll feel. The better you feel, the more confident you become. All right. So that's why we also mentioned feeling good. You got to feel good as well. And when you start to carry that kind of energy with you, again, it becomes easier to be feminine, right? And exude that energy. It becomes easier to smile at somebody. When you're confident, it's easier to now look at them and make that eye contact and hold for those 3 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to compliment. You see, all these things I'm mentioning becomes easier to do when you feel good about yourself, when you like what you see, right? When you have that confidence. So you want to sit down with yourself and figure out what's going to help me cultivate that. How do I pour that more into myself so that I be well equipped to now gain the attention of a man that I want, right? And not just gain the attention of a man that I want, because for some of you, maybe you don't have a hard time getting men's attention. But these things that I mentioned, a lot of these things are going to help you in the relationship. They're going to help you in the marriage. So it's not just using it just to, get him to talk to you. It's knowing how to sustain it and keep it going. So, I know a lot of this, again, can be scary or feel overwhelming or like, oh, this is too much. It's not. It feels like too much because you're not used to it. You're not accustomed to it. But the more you practice and get comfortable with it, the easier it gets. It becomes second nature. And I wanted to mention about, the concern of coming across desperate. A lot of times the perception of your desperation is going to hinge on if he's interested or not. Meaning, I always use this example. If 10 guys DM'd you right now saying, hey, beautiful, and you didn't really like any of those 10 guys, you might find them annoying, desperate, whatever, right? But if guy number 11 messages you and you actually like him, and let's say they all say, hey, beautiful, right? So the first 10, you're like, oh, they're lame, no creativity. If number 11 says, hey, beautiful, but you actually have interest in him, you might view his actions as, that's so sweet, I'm flattered. You perceive it differently and you receive it differently because you actually have interest. So a lot of times we don't need to be concerned about looking desperate. These things do not exude desperation because we're not chasing, we're not overly pursuing. I'm just encouraging you to present your interest. That's it. And then from there, he still has to proceed. He still has to act on things. He still has to take some level of initiative to keep things going. But you got to give him something to work with. That makes it easier. Let me also say this. I mentioned it before in a previous video where there's this book. I always forget the name of the book. It's ridiculous. But anyways, in the book, they survey married couples after getting their marriage license. Long story short, they ask these people all kinds of questions on why you married this person. And one of the top answers that men gave as to why they married their wives is because she liked him. And what that means is that she was willing to show interest and desire. She was willing to present that interest. And that really captures the attention of men because men are not used to getting that. Men are used to having to be the ones to pursue, even chase, to drive the whole situation. So when a woman is willing to at least give him something to work with, that really hits him and that really bodes well for the potential of a relationship and it growing into something more. So, I want to say this as well. For any of you who are skeptical about these things, pray about it. Number one, I'm all about encouraging you to pray, talk to God, letting him lead you in situations. Some moments may be like, this ain't for you to smile at that man. Maybe that's the wrong man to smile at, and God knows, right? In other situations, maybe he will encourage you to move forward with it. But always talk to God. Always allow God to lead you in these situations. But be willing to move past the fears and the limited perceptions of how we should engage with each other, because there's a lot of blessings waiting for you if you're willing to take that first step. So they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And it's pretty accurate. The unfortunate reality in today's world is a lot of first impressions stem from what we see online, whether that be through dating apps, through social media. But I still think that even though there may be that first impression digitally, there's always this first impression when we meet in real life, when we go on that first date. And I want to equip you with some tools that you can use to make yourself a lot more attractive, desirable, and have that great first impression that can lead to many more dates with an individual. All right. Now, I know some of you might be saying, listen, I ain't got time to be trying to do this, that, and the other for no man. Listen, don't let pride get in the way of doing things that can make your life easier and better. All right. Plain and simple. And all the suggestions I give you are with love, and you're more than welcome to comment below on your thoughts on what I'm saying, but consider it. And if you're a believer, I'm going to say, pray about what I'm telling you, because I really think if you try these things out, you are going to see some awesome results. So let's get to the first thing you can do to drive men wild on that first date. and that's wear little to no makeup. Let me explain, because I know makeup is a sensitive topic for a lot of women. And I understand that many of you express that you are not wearing makeup for men. I'm not even here to argue that right now. What I will say is, regardless of who you're wearing it for, it has an impact on how a man receives you, especially when you go out on a date. The reality is that in today's world, a lot of women, it may be you, may not be you, are putting on heavier layers of makeup than once upon a time. I always say, like, makeup used to be to enhance, but for many, makeup now transforms. And because of this reality, men have become more skeptical and more cautious when it comes to dealing with a woman who wears a lot of makeup, because he can't trust that when the makeup comes off, you look remotely the same or close to what you did with it. All right. Now, here's the crazy thing, because I don't want y'all to think that's shade, right? Because some women, a lot of women, take the makeup off and they're literally more beautiful. And I'm going to say, in fairness, in my opinion and in the opinions of many men. Some may disagree. The woman may disagree. I don't know. But I have witnessed where I'm like, yo, why does she even wear the makeup? Like, she is stunning without it. But again, I understand some of you still enjoy it, maybe want to switch things up, whatever. So this is not an argument against makeup in general, right? Though some men would argue they wish women would wear less of it altogether. But at least for the first date, you want to tone it down. And you want to focus more on the enhancing and less the transforming. You want to make sure that, listen, when the makeup comes off, it's still close. It still looks close. The makeup was just, again, an enhanced version, more blush, eyeliner, whatever y'all put on your face. I'm not, makeup literate, but consider that. Because again, what's also happening is you have some situations where man meets woman, they go on a date, she's wearing all this makeup, and some men may not even be, they may not be aware of what is a lot of makeup on a woman. So anyways, to him, in her current makeup form, he finds her very attractive. They continue to go on more dates. She's continue to wear makeup. But at some point, the makeup has to come off. And there have been many situations where once the makeup came off, he was like, yo, this is not what I thought. And then he walks away. And as messed up as that sounds, the reason why I'm encouraging you to take a different approach is because I don't want your time wasted. Again, we're not here to discuss whether that's fair or men should be this way. No, I'm here to say, listen, this is what happens. And if we want to avoid these types of traps and things that will make you even more hurt in the long run, well, here's a way to go about that. But also the other reason why little to no makeup on that first date is so powerful is because, if he finds you attractive without all this extra stuff, then it's like it's a solidified attraction now. You know what I'm saying? And he feels even more confident about pursuing you because he knows that, again, he's getting a woman that he, in her natural state or close to it, he is very much attracted to. All right? This is kind of hitting me, so I have to mention this. I know of situations where the man is with the woman, but he wants her to wear makeup almost all the time. All right. Now, in fairness, I don't know I haven't spoken to this man. I don't know what his motivation is. But some could argue he's simply not happy with that woman without makeup. He's not willing to leave for whatever reasons. But he's like, well, you got to keep that makeup on if I'm going to deal with this. Now, I'm sorry to laugh a little bit, but I'm saying that's just an unfortunate situation. So again, little to no makeup, very good. Give it a try. I think you'll enjoy the results of it. All right, so second thing now you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is something that's sexy but comfortable. Okay? So here's what I want to start with comfortable. Why that's so important. I have seen many cases of women trying to dress up to appeal to men but dressing up in ways that don't really sit well with them, they're not really comfortable in, whether that be they're not comfortable with the look of it, or they're literally not comfortable because of how it feels, okay? Let's say, for example, you're trying super hard to squeeze into these jeans and it's cutting off some of the air supply, all right? And it's like making things rough for you. Well, here's the thing. If you're uncomfortable, that can then show up in the energy that you're giving off on the date. And the man is not aware. He doesn't know that your jeans are super tight and you're struggling. He doesn't know that your feet are killing you because you're wearing these shoes that might be super cute and you would really want to wear them, but they're not making you feel good. All he knows is you coming across irritable, grumpy, frustrated, whatever it is. Now, you may think you're hiding it well, but a lot of times you're not hiding it as well as you think you are. So for that man, he may wander off into thinking you're not interested, you have a bad attitude. There's so many things, so many negative conclusions that he can come to because he is not fully aware of what's really ailing you in that moment. So it's important that you remain comfortable. Now, when we say sexy, I want you to think first in the context of what you feel sexy in. All right? Because again, it goes back to being comfortable, not just with how it feels, but how it looks to you. If you are wearing something, for example, let's just say a low-cut dress that's showing some cleavage looks really sexy on you to some people. But to you, you feel like it got you looking like your breasts are all hanging out and you just don't, you're a more modest woman than that. This is not really your style. This does not work for you, right? Then again, you're not going to feel sexy. You're going to feel awkward. And it goes back to the energy that you will give off in that awkward feeling. You will not give off an energy of being confident, and understand that being confident makes you look more sexy. Confidence enhances someone's presentation. All right. So you want to find the things that not just maybe are appealing to the eyes and how people perceive it, but again, how you feel in it. If you feel good, if you feel confident, all these different things. And so I would encourage you as a woman to, try different outfits that you like. Find that style, maybe that first date. When I say uniform, I'm not saying wear the same exact thing every first date you go on. But there might be a certain style that when I'm wearing this kind of style, I feel good, I feel sexy, I feel comfortable. And that's like your set style for your first dates. Because again, we want to make that first impression a great impression. And making sure you have the right energy coming across is going to be very important. Oh, now, before I continue, I have a couple more things I want to mention. One, make sure that whatever your style is, let me reverse that a little bit. Don't present a style that you know ain't you and you're not going to sustain. So this is like the equivalent to where I'll tell a man, don't take women out on dates. And we're talking from the standpoint of cost, all right? An expensive, fancy old restaurant when you know you like just having Popeyes and liquor at home, right? Like if you're just this simple guy who wants to order pizza all the time, you don't want to misrepresent what you are willing to bring to this potential relationship and how you're willing to go out. You want to try to find something that's closer to your true sustainable way of life, your sustainable lifestyle. So for you as a woman, I would hate for you to come on that first date trying to be all super sexy and wearing, let's say, a little bit more revealing things. And listen, whether you want to wear something that shows cleavage or tight or whatever, I'm not here to, judge that or whatever the case may be. If I'm being honest with y'all, I'm just going to keep it real. I like a woman that dresses sexy. Listen, I know it's not for everybody. I know some may say, well, God said you need to be modest. I get it. This is one of my struggles, all right? I'm just going to keep it real. If you're with me, not only do I like the woman to dress sexy if I'm going on a date, if you become my wife, I'm going to encourage you to dress sexy. That's my thing. But some men are more into modesty. But regardless of what the man is into, whether that be me with the sexy or the man with the modest, you got to present what's true to you. All right? Where you are happy, where you are comfortable, and what you can sustain. Because again, I wouldn't want you coming out on the date trying to be extra sexy when you know very well you don't like dressing like that. And then I get with you, and every time I'm out with you, you want to dress ultra conservative, like some might say an old lady. No offense to old ladies. You know what? Let's just scratch the old lady part. Let's just say you don't want to be ultra conservative. All right. If that man is looking for something a little bit more, provocative, so to speak. And then also, understand there's a time and place for everything. So also, yes, even for me, I may like a woman who dresses sexy, but I also understand where are we going? What's the environment we're going to be in? Because that plays a role in dictating how we should dress for this environment. So you want to be mindful of also considering the environment that you're going to be in with this man and how you should show up with your dress code. All right, so let's keep this going. Another thing you can do to drive men wild, another thing you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is to wear red. Now, let me say this. I got this because there was a study that shows that wearing red is very effective. It communicates. Forgive me, I forgot the exact things it communicates. I'm going brain dead right now for a second. But the point is, they found it to be very effective. Now, I don't want to focus on just red. Do I think red is great? Yeah, red is great. But I do suggest, if not red, wearing brighter colors, all right? Wearing what I would call more feminine colors, things that bring out a different kind of energy. I know for a lot of women, there's a tendency to wear black. And I'm not saying that, if you wear black, you're going to ruin your first date or that man won't find you attractive. No, I think that's unreasonable to make a statement like that. But I'm a firm believer that colors emit, not even believer, it's a fact. Colors emit energy. Colors can give off a certain signal. And so the man can, I've run this test with a lot of women where those who tend to wear very dark colors, black, gray, navy blue, all these things. And I tell them, listen, try to wear colorful clothes for this week. Let's see what happens. And it's never failed. They always come back saying they see a difference. They see a difference in how men are responding to them, how people are responding to them, but even better, how they feel themselves. So how we dress affects our energy and mood as well. We may not always be conscious of that, but it's true. It's one of the reasons why businesses make people dress up to come to work, because they know in the context of if you dress too casually, that could affect your work productivity. That could affect how you approach the day and how focused you are. So you want to be mindful of that. But going back to the colors, yes, I do believe that bright colors are good, are positive things to try out. And it's something that I would encourage for you to do in general, not just on your first date. So again, if you are someone who tends to wear dark colors all the time, and again, I'm not saying you gotta get rid of all your dark colors, right? Or all your black dresses. I know some of y'all have these go-to black dresses. I get it. But try it out. Just try it out. You're gonna see. And I definitely think it will have a positive impact on that first date. But as the study says wear red. So you can go all the way with the red or just try some different colors. All right, so let's keep this going. So another thing you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is wear something that accentuates one of your positives. Now, hear me out. Hear me out, okay? Because I know that might be taken the wrong way. So here's the thing. It's not that I'm trying to have you use your body, so to speak. And it's not, and please don't just think it's a body thing, and I'll explain in a second, right? It's that I think, again, when we're trying to make that first impression, I think almost everybody, if not everyone, has certain positives. It might be a nice smile. It might be beautiful eyes. It might be Again, it might be a nice body, might be nice legs, it might be a nice chest, whatever the case may be. You know, we have different things that do well for us, right? And I think that when we're going on that first date and we're trying to present ourselves in a positive and effective light, I do think that it's wise, it's smart to try to accentuate one of your positives, all right? And so, again, not crossing a line that you feel would, go against your values or anything like that. But let's just say, for example, you have beautiful eyes, or just a very nice structure to your face. But then maybe you wear your hair back in a way that brings out your eyes more. You know what I'm saying? If you have nice lips, maybe wearing the proper lipstick or lip gloss or something that accentuates that. I think these are all good things. Again, I think some people, when they hear it, they might just think I'm trying to tell y'all to give off a sexual energy, so to speak. But it's not really about that. Though I acknowledge that some of your positives might lean more towards the sexual energy, right? Because if you have, let's say, a nice chest and you show cleavage, okay, I get it, all right? So I can understand there's going to be some hesitation depending on what your positive is. But I do think that some of these things can be done in a very subtle way, or at least you can wear outfits that work for you, not against you, all right? Because some people, even if you're not trying to accentuate a positive, some people, their outfit, like, it made them look worse than they are. It actually hurt them rather than help them. And so I think being mindful of that, and one of the ways to be mindful of the type of outfit that really works well with you is getting the opinion of the opposite sex. I think what I've seen a lot of women do is they go to other women to get their opinion on their outfit, their this and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you can't talk to your girlfriends, that's cool. But if you're going on a date with a man, it would be wise to get the opinion of other men if you can, because some of you may not have men in your life. You may not have access to that. I get it. But if you do, let them give you some input. Let them give you some insight, because they're going to look at it through the eyes of a man. And again, we're keeping things within the structure or the box of what you're comfortable in, what you're confident in, that doesn't go against who you are, that isn't something that you can't sustain. So we're considering all these things, but hear what they have to say. And I think, again, I know this could be tricky for some, and I don't want to be taken the wrong way, but I do think finding something that really brings out your best is a very good and effective tool to use on that first date. All right, and so now, the fifth thing, the last thing that you can do to drive men wild. And after this, there's some questions I had that were submitted by some of my members from my membership group, which you can join. All right, you can go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or the comment section where we do live Q&As. There's modules on healing, tapping into your feminine energy, meeting more relationship-minded men, and so much more. It's an awesome experience, so take advantage of it. Join in. But yes, I got some questions, and excuse me, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to be answering some of those at the end of this. So stay here. Even after I give you this one point, we got some more things to discuss to shed some light on. But the fifth thing you can do to drive men wild is not wear no more than 3-inch heels. I'm sorry, I couldn't not laugh. Listen, so here we go. It's funny. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I'm serious. So listen to what I'm saying. Let's look at this from a couple different angles. So number one, I'm not going to sit there and say that men are looking at your heels and like, oh, it's past 3 inches. Oh, hell no, I ain't dating her, right? No. Or, oh, okay, it's less than 3 inches. She's looking extra good today. No. However, we all know, listen, the height issue is an issue for a lot of people. And I know for most of you, you're probably already trying to choose men who you go on a date with who are already taller than you in heels. Many of you have that standard, so to speak, set. Now, I would argue, and I've said this many times on my tours, I do think that the whole expecting or wanting a man to be taller than you in heels is one of those things I think a lot of women should reconsider, okay? And it's not that I want you to go against what you truly desire, so to speak. And if it truly affects you, like if him not being taller than you in heels really affects the quality of the relationship, then okay, I'm not going to fight it, right? But I want to add the perspective of, listen, you're wearing those heels, what, 10% of your life? If even that much, it's probably way less than 10%. So you're asking for a man to be taller than you 10% of the time, all right? And if he's not, some of you won't even consider him. Then you have to consider the fact that it ain't your real height. That's your fake height, okay? Like, you ain't that tall. You know what I'm saying? When you take those heels off, he is still taller than you in many cases. So it's like, hey, again, I just think you should reconsider. I'm not going to tell you to flat out drop it. I'm just going to say reconsider. But yes, going on a date with more than 3-inch heels can create a situation where, one, it could intimidate the guy. Now, of course, if he's intimidated, that's a personal problem to a certain extent. But again, it's almost like, why do that because you're having a fake height in that moment? You understand what I'm saying? And believe it or not, sometimes a lot of men, they're not even aware that you were wearing the heels that big. So they're over here thinking, wow, she's really tall, not realizing, no, you're actually kind of short, but you just have these big old heels on right now. So it can throw off his perception of you, and even for him, because just as women have a specific preference when it comes to men's height, well, there are men out there who have preferences with women's height as well, all right? So again, I think 3 inches is enough. Okay, going past 3 inches is a little bit much, unless he's just that tall of a guy already that going 4 or 5, whatever, is not going to matter. But it's one of those things that I think, all right, like, let's be considerate of it when you're going out on that date. So, like I said, there were some questions that I said I would answer at the end of this. So let's get to them. All right. So the first question was, are there any things you shouldn't ask a man on the first date? And so, in my opinion, professional opinion, it's not about putting in your head, I cannot ask this on the first date, or I should ask this on the first date. I think the first date has to be more so about more of a natural flow of conversation. And within the natural flow of conversation, granted, there's going to always be some standard questions. You know, we may ask, what do you do for a living? You know, do you enjoy what you do? Do you, you know, things like that. You know, where were you born? Where are you from? Little standard things. But I think all these other questions that we worry if we should be asking them or not, it's like if it comes about in the natural flow, then just ask it. But don't force things and break the natural flow. So it's like, listen, if we're sitting here having a conversation about our careers and our purpose and all these things, if you come out of nowhere and be like, so how were things with your ex? It's like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, we're talking about careers and you just hit me with, like, that makes it awkward. You know what I'm saying? So, but if in the natural flow of conversation, we're talking about the relationships that we've been in and how our experiences have been, and then someone wants to get more specific and say, hey, well, how were things with your last relationship specifically? That's, again, within the natural flow. And so that person's not going to be put off or thrown off by that. And if they're serious about you, they can probably have no problem answering that question. So focus more on just flowing, being yourself, and enjoying yourself. Because again, the energy that you give off is going to play a huge role on whether this thing moves forward or not. So be more relaxed, enjoy, and let things flow conversation-wise. All right, so now the second question I received was, will having sex on the first date ruin the chances of a relationship? So I want to answer this honestly, but let me say this. I am in no way saying you should go have sex on the first date, all right? You know, I mentioned it in many of my other videos. I agree with the idea that waiting is best. If we're looking from a spiritual perspective, that's what we're supposed to do. But I also acknowledge that most people don't make it that far. All right. And most people in today's world are engaging. That's not me saying you should. That's just me acknowledging that that's what happens for most. All right. And I am no different, as I struggle just like many others struggle. With that said, when it comes to having sex on the first date, it is possible to have sex on the first date and still end up in a serious relationship, even married. There are many examples of it. However, I would never suggest to somebody that you should be trying to have it if your goal is serious relationship. All right. Now, again, hear what I said, trying to have it versus, all right, sometimes in the natural flow of things, attraction, all this stuff, things happen, right? And I don't want you to like kill yourself over if it happens. At the same time, I do think that the longer you can wait, the better. And more specifically, you want to at least give yourself enough time to know what you're getting yourself into. Because if you as a woman allow yourself to have sex on the first date with the expectation that this will now proceed into more, then when it doesn't, you feel used, you feel cheated. Well, that's a huge problem. All right. But if you, out of your own, for your own reasons, as a grown adult, decide you want to experience this and you are okay with whatever's going to happen next, that again is your choice. But also be honest with yourself, because if you're a woman that gets more emotionally caught up once you engage sexually, if your judgment gets clouded by having sex, all these different traps that so many people fall in, then that's more reason why you should be waiting. So again, is it possible to still have a relationship and marriage with sex on the first date? Yes, it's possible, but I would not suggest that being the route you take. All right, and so we got another question, and it says, does the type of date he takes me on reflect his level of interest? So I like this question because I think it's something that I need to discuss in regards to the fact that I do think there's levels to it, in the sense that, all right, I think if we're grown adults and this man is taking you to McDonald's for a date, chances are he's not that serious, all right? Chances are. I don't want to rule out exceptions, okay, because there's exceptions to every rule. But chances are that's not a good look, because most men would already assume that this would not reflect well on them, taking you there, okay? But what I want to say about this is, I do think we need to create, there needs to be a change in culture when it comes to first dates. I really believe that we need to simplify our first dates. I think that for both sides, the concern with a lot of men is money and time spent. For women, it might be sexual expectation and things of that nature. And I think that one of the ways we ease all that is, okay, we simplify the date. If we make our first dates about coffee dates, ice cream dates, walk in the park dates, simple, inexpensive dates, I think this is good on many levels. One, I think it takes away some of these concerns, right? Or it can help minimize them at the very least. I also think that the simpler dates allow for greater interaction so that we can see, do we really like this person or not? Because that's supposed to be the purpose of the date, to see, okay, do we get along? Do we have chemistry? Are we on the same page? I think adding all this extra fluff of this fancy restaurant or this nice concert or doing all these other different things, and it's like, yo, we're missing the point. The point isn't in the overall experience. It's more so about learning each other. So I personally believe, if a woman is looking for something serious, maybe even letting that be known to the guy that, listen, on our first date, we can keep it simple, keep it nice and easy. And that way, we're not worried about this whole, it reflecting his interest. I think it's going to work to the benefit of both parties if that's expressed and that's implemented. And then we can also get through these situations quicker as far as seeing, okay, can this person stick around, or we gotta let them go and move on to the next? Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So I make a lot of videos breaking down the way men think, what it means when he does this, says that, how you should navigate those situations. And that's all well and good. And I'm going to continue to make videos like that. But I think it's very important